All right, we're going to call this Finance Committee virtual meeting to order at 7:03.
Yeah.
All right. First order of business is to review the minutes from our last meeting. I have a motion.
I make the motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Do I have a second?
I don't know that
Second.
do I know where to find those even?
Second.
They were emailed out by Tamika after the last meeting.
Emailed.
Oh, okay, I read them. Yep. Okay, yeah.
Your regular email, so it was a Purcell one.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Missed who seconded.
Ian, because this is a virtual meeting, all votes have to be roll call votes.
Roll call vote. Okay. So I start with Karen.
I approve.
David?
Approve.
Sorry, I'm just losing them here. I'm trying to find my minutes that I had. Too many on this. Peter?
Aye.
It's an aye.
Yes.
Tom?
Aye. Yes.
Carol?
Yes. Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. Motion passes.
Ian,
Yes.
because this is a virtual meeting, there's actually a small script that we're required to read. If you want, I can take care of that for you because I got it pulled up here.
Sure, go ahead.
Meetings of the Finance Committee are recorded for transmission on Rutland Public Access Television and YouTube pursuant to Governor Baker's order of March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Rutland Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Rutland's website at www.townofrutland.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by watching Rutland Community Television live on channel 129 and on the town's website, www.townofrutland.org, or by viewing a recording of the meeting on the town's YouTube page following the meeting. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, and every effort would be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Rutland's website video recordings, transcripts, and other comprehensive records of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Thank you.
Mike, the only thing we do need to change on that is it's channel 192,
What did I say?
129.
Oh, well, yeah, 192. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's review. We did the review. So new business. Mike, I'm going to have you speak.
All right, if you give me one quick second, I will get the budget up on all of your screens. There you go. And if you scroll to the top of the stack of everyone's faces, there is a little line before the squares that come up. If you click on that, it will get rid of everyone's face there so you can see the document.
I thumbnailed it. Okay, got it.
There you go. So because of the situation we are dealing with, I spoke with Ian and Karen as the chair and vice chair of the committee to talk about how we'd like to proceed. The governor has proposed legislation that would allow the select board to postpone town meeting to sometime after June 30th if we find it necessary because of the current state of emergency. That can only be done if the state of emergency is still going on by the time they vote to move it. However, if they vote to move the meeting and the state of emergency expires, because they voted prior to the expiration, that new date is the valid date of the town meeting. That said, that has not been passed, nor has any action on that been taken at this point. So we are continuing to move forward as if the regularly scheduled town meeting on May 9th will happen. That said, it can be kind of hard with these virtual meetings to have department heads and other groups come in, sit down, and speak with the group. We can certainly have department heads come and call in, but it might be harder to pull up things like the budget and the other backup materials at the same time. So what the three of us have recommended is that the finance committee take a look at the budget as a whole. I'll scroll down to the bottom here so you can see what we have left. The school did come back with a small reduction, so we got a $23,000 reduction in our school assessment from the Wachusett Regional School District due to them cutting their own budget by $100,000. But you'll see with $150,000 of free cash, we're still looking at $340,287.67. What I have done is I've sent this budget back out to all of our department heads and asked them within the next 2 weeks to resubmit new budget to my office, cutting anything that's absolutely not necessary for this year that we can hold off a year on again. Now, if you remember, that was the second go around that we had this year, but we found some other areas when I was sitting down with the department heads one-on-one where further reductions could be found. So with that said, in the next 2 weeks, we should see something from the department heads that addresses that issue. If we get down to about $100,000, I feel like we're at a comfortable spot where we can massage the revenues a little bit to balance them there. However, that's still $140,000 and change that we should have cutting, and to be in a comfortable spot, I'd like to get it down even further. But that is where we currently are with the budget. I understand that we had originally scheduled the police, fire, and Bay Path to come in this evening. What we will do is I will take any questions that any of the committee members have for their specific accounts, take those back to those departments and bring them to the finance committee in one document that can be shared with everyone. That way everyone sees all of those answers together. Does anyone have any questions on what I've up to this point?
No.
I have a question in regards to the current budget the way it is. All of the costs have been removed?
Yes.
All of the what has been removed?
The cost of living adjustments.
How about any, I know a couple of the departments were asking for increases in hours. Have they been removed?
Yes, they have.
So we're really gonna have to look at what they come back with, and then we're gonna have to make some hard cuts or hard suggestions at this point, Michael.
Yeah. No, I can say this isn't, unfortunately, this isn't something that's unique to the town. If you remember 2 years ago, we had a similar situation when Margaret was here, where we actually had a larger, almost double deficit than this 4 weeks time from now, if you're going to an equivalent calendar here. So we've seen worse before. Is it good? No, but it's not the absolute worst that it could be. There is some wiggle room in the budget, and all departments have acknowledged that. I really do think we can come back with a balanced budget without too big of a cut that has a massive sting with it to the town. It just may limit what we would be available to do compared to where we'd like to be and what's reality.
Michael,
Yeah,
what are you hearing?
now? Go ahead, Ian.
Go. I was wanting to know what you're hearing from the other towns with the school budget. Does it look like it's not going to be an issue with everybody?
It's up in the air. I just think the current COVID-19 situation has kind of replaced everything else that's on everyone's mind right now. I think that Princeton's PFAS situation has also come to the forefront in their own mind. However, it is something that discussions are ongoing about, and we should have a better idea on that in 2 weeks' time.
All right,
Any
and-
word from as to when we'll get the budget book?
I have not heard about that yet since the COVID situation and the school shut down. However, I have reached out to the school department to ask for that again.
Okay. As
So, Mike-
did I. I'm assuming that it was as much money as we spend on them. I'm assuming that the management can work from home the same as some of the smaller companies that are doing it.
I would believe so.
So, Mike, let me ask a question about process.
Yep.
From the perspective of the budget, I mean, I've been playing with it this afternoon. How
Yeah.
do we, who goes about suggesting ways that should be changed? Is it just everybody needs to cut a certain percentage? Is it the finance committee that makes that suggestion? Is it the select board that would make the decision that it's going to be a certain rate across the board? How does that work?
So it would be the finance committee.
Okay.
Basically, I'd sit down with all the department heads and come with a recommendation to you all. And then if there's anything further needed, it comes from the recommendation of the individual committee members. It's not usually a certain percentage per department. It's usually you just give a directive to all department heads saying we need things cut and cut the fat out of your budget. And that's where we go from there. Again, all department heads have acknowledged that there is some wiggle room in all of their departments because that's how you budget. You add a little increase year after year. So we just give them that direction and see where they come back with in 2 weeks. If they come in earlier, this sheet will be updated so you can see it in real time as the updates come in. And then we sit down and then we say, okay, we understand the departments said this is what they'd like. However, we just can't do that this year, so we're going to take an extra X number of dollars off of that.
So it appears as if in just the stuff that I was looking at this afternoon, that there are 10 items that make up 80%, 88% of the overall budget. And I don't know if it's appropriate to be able to say that we should be cutting the departments evenly across the board. As an example, the school department obviously has the largest individual budget. And if we were to apply 60% of the cut to the school department, it'd be $234,000. But they're at a $703,000 increase anyway. Now, I don't know how we do
Correct.
that. I wouldn't suggest that we have a way to be able to do that. We just have the tools. But it just seems like it makes it more difficult for the other departments.
I would say yes. I'd agree with that. Particularly where we really don't have a say over the school budget unless another town agrees with us. There are 10 areas that do make up the bulk of the budget. And there are some areas that take up pennies in the budget, like the moderator, $75.
Right.
That's part of why we go department by department and see them as silos at first, and then we look big picture after that to see where we end up. And then we go big picture after that and say, well, you know what, this is our biggest increase here. We got to take something off of that.
So we've already done the silos, right?
We've done the first round. Now we say it's still not good enough. Go back and find us something else.
Okay.
So out of the 2 weeks that I said, that's the second step that I just said. That's week 1. And then week 2 is looking at the budget of the whole and then saying, okay, here's our biggest increase. We really got to look at something here.
Okay.
Mike, have the union contracts been completed with all the employees, with like the police and the fire and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
And we did receive confirmation from State 911 yesterday that they would level fund our dispatch budget and cover all of the increase for this year's cost. as an annual grant for the town.
That's awesome.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm looking on another computer here at the budget because I can't see it on that one well enough. But there are three 2021 columns right above the goal and the bottom line. Which of those three at this point is the one that we need to pay?
Town administrator request.
The TA request?
TA request. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't wait. So I see the three columns that you're talking about, but I don't see anything that says TA. Oh, I see it at the very end. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the one I've just highlighted for you.
Gotcha.
In fact, I think I can do.
Wow, I'm impressed.
That's it.
All right.
All right, so really, I mean, that's where we're at with this budget. We're sending it back to you and have the department heads take a look at this and get back to us.
Yeah. I think, and I think the delay in a lot of what the department heads are submitting back is just due to the fact that we've had to rearrange how we do things at town hall because of the governor's recent order. So we are working on a rotating shift now to reduce who is in the building at certain times. And it's just an adjustment that everyone else has to make on their normal functions that this is drawn out a little more. But they've been doing a good job with that, and I think we'll get everything soon.
I have a quick question about town meeting. So if May 9th date is pushed forward, which, you know, is at least a 50-50 option, does the budget, I assume the budget still needs to be done, finished before that May 9th date. Even if we hear it's going to be pushed forward, we still want it done by that date, right?
So I'm going to say yes and no, and then I'm going to explain why I say yes and no. So we get this done, it's done at that point. So you do still want to try to get it done as early as you can. However, it doesn't go into effect unless it's passed by town meeting. So what the governor's legislation does is allows us to go past the June 30th deadline, which is the current legal deadline to have your town meeting by, is June 30th. Reason being is the new fiscal year starts on July 1st. However, what the governor is allowing is if this state of emergency continues and we cannot have town meeting by June 30th, we can actually push town meeting off until as late as August 30th. And what we do in the meantime is the Department of Revenue's Division of Local Services would allow us to take this current year's budget, divide it by 12, and that would be our monthly budget numbers for each department. And if there's any mandatory increases, like a contract that has an annual increase or something like that, we pull those out of our free cash. So the legislation would allow for us to go on a 1/12 budget per month until we have that town meeting that finally approves this.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And Mike,
And
that 1/12 budget is the 1/12 of 2020, not 2021, right?
correct.
Okay.
And say, well, for instance, we'll use the unions as an example. The unions have a built-in increase in their contract. Now, say the revenues are enough just to cover what we budgeted in 2020 because we're going off of 2020's rate. We pull the difference out of our certified free cash that we haven't spent at the fall town meeting.
Okay.
Now, there is a lot of legislation out there that the governor's proposed and executive orders that the governor has signed to help us deal with that as soon as yesterday at 11 in the morning, where the governor put another bill out called the Municipal Relief Package. What this does is, if passed, would allow us to deficit spend in any line item where we purchase items in response to the coronavirus outbreak. So protective equipment for the fire department, for the EMTs that get on the ambulance and go out and respond to calls. We have a nurse from the Department of Public Health that we pay an hourly rate to, who checks up on all of our confirmed cases, of which we currently have 2 in town. So these things add up. So we would be allowed under law to deficit spend in these items. And for anything we don't get reimbursed with by the federal government or the Commonwealth, which is one of the reasons why we declared a local state of emergency, is that allows us to apply for this reimbursement. We add everything up together and amortize that over the next 3 years in the tax rate. So that means we basically tack that on to the tax rate for the next 3 years for anything we don't get reimbursed for if we deficit spend. If we don't deficit spend in that account, then we do not recollect that money unless it gets reimbursed from the Commonwealth, because that was the original budget.
So
Okay, Mike,
they got that model. Yeah, go ahead.
So if 2 weeks, that means we don't get to see the final cuts that the departments do until the 16th. That means we have 3 weeks to finalize the budget and look at all the warrants that are going to be placed on the town meeting warrant.
Yes, I'm looking at my calendar if you see me looking up at the top corner. I can certainly ask them to pick up the pace and we can rearrange our schedules. That was just going off the current department rotation that we have put in. If the finance committee wants it quicker, I could certainly bump it up.
The only concern is how many, what is it looking like for the select board to be putting on the warrants? Are we looking at just budget warrants, or are we looking at another 30 past that point that are other things?
The select board had their meeting on Monday. There were no votes taken at it just because that was our first run at a Zoom meeting, and I didn't want the technology cutting out right before a vote in case someone was like, oh, well, I didn't get a chance to vote on that. So they did not review any of the proposed bylaws or anything else at that time. I can tell you in terms of general articles that that my office has received, we've only gotten 3 compared to the usual ones that we already have.
Okay, so 3.
And then
all of them.
And then the bylaws will be on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah. The of the 3, one is looking for a non-monetary purpose in setting a speed limit. Another is looking to repurpose the money that was appropriated at the fall town meeting for the walkway that we got the grant for at the community center. And to be completely honest with you, I don't recall the third one at the top of my head, but if I think about it before the end of the meeting, or if I think about it after, I will email you and let you know.
Isn't the third one isn't that the one for the sign in the center of town?
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, that's the citizens petition, so that's why I always forget that one. The other ones are department head submitted.
Okay.
Sorry.
I
No,
guess I have one more question in regards to the town meeting warrant. Whereas we are in the state of emergency that we are in, and public meetings can't be held on certain changes, is that going to perhaps prevent us from putting them on the town meeting warrant?
It certainly could. I think that would be up to the purview of the select board. It'd probably be a discussion that we should all have, because the public is still getting used to watching these Hollywood Square meetings that we have on the TV, right. Because what you see now is exactly what's being broadcasted on the television. And it restricts who we have to come to public comment. So I do feel that it's a discussion that's worth having.
Well, because I know that the ad hoc bylaw subcommittee was supposed to be coming back to us with our bylaw, and we haven't heard from them yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they have also just scheduled all their meetings via Zoom as well. So we will see what happens there.
All right. So I think at this point we're gonna have to wait till we see what we get from you, Mike. If you can get them to move it a little quicker, I think the committee would certainly appreciate that. We'll schedule another Zoom meeting for next week.
Yep.
Is there any other old business you guys want to discuss?
I have a couple of questions that I'm not sure if they're old or new, but
Go ahead.
Mike, has any consideration been given to, in regard to the town meeting, upfront postponing it 2 weeks right now to give everyone longer time to plan, or perhaps limiting it to, at the May 9th meeting, only dealing with the budget issues and then reconvening later on at a special town meeting for other warrant articles, if that can even be done, just to streamline it so that the most important things can get done?
Yeah, so those conversations have occurred. As right now, the current statutory things that we're allowed to do are the warrant, if with no changes for what the governor's proposed for his legislation, that still needs to be passed by the House and Senate and then signed by him. How our town meeting is postponed is the regular warrant gets posted as usual, and then the moderator has the authority to postpone it to a date certain.
Okay.
So, as it currently stands, that is the only way a town meeting can be postponed, is once the warrant's posted, the moderator has that call. However, state law also currently states that that can only be done in terms of severe inclement weather or if there's a public safety concern. What the governor's legislation has that he's proposed, and I expect will pass, is it pushes back some of the reasons why the moderator can do that. So if you've already posted your warrant, it adds the reason public health concern to those lists of reasons. So that way, if it is this current state of emergency that we're in, we can tell Randy that there's a concern that we can't have 150 something people in the gym at Glenwood. Can you please postpone it because there's a public health concern? Then he can do that. Or if we haven't posted the warrant yet, the select board can vote to postpone it instead of the moderator, but again, that has to be to a date certain. So we can't just postpone it willy-nilly. Or we have to at least show that we're trying to get to a date certain. And that's why we're allowed to go past June 30th there, is we have to show every best effort that we can get to June 30th. Now, the other interesting thing that some other towns have that we do not is that our town bylaws tie the town election to the town meeting. That said, there has been legislation that was filed by Governor Baker, but this has passed already. This was lightning. I've never seen this happen before. He filed a bill Monday evening and then signed it Tuesday evening. That allows every municipality statewide that has elections between now and May 30th to postpone their election to sometime before June 30th. So that's already been adopted. So we don't have to worry about moving the election in order to move the meeting because we already have that authority to do that through either a vote of the Board of Selectmen or a vote of the Registrar of Voters. However, what we need to do now is wait for the town meeting legislation to hopefully pass. And we've reached out to Senator Goby and Rep. Ferguson, and they are both in agreement that they will be supporting that as well.
Mike, you're getting very smart these days. Learning
thank
a
you
lot,
very
huh?
much. One thing after another, but that's the fun part of the job.
Wow, I'm glad you think it's fun. Crazy.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Anybody? So I think at this point we'll take a motion to adjourn and go forward on that. Mike, is that?
Sounds good.
So our tentative plan is that we will meet again next week, same time, same place, unless we hear different.
Yes, the governor's meeting executive order does expire right now on April 6th. However, where he bumped school back out until May 4th, I have a feeling that we're going to see everything else bump out to May 4th as well. But we'll play it by day, and then hopefully we'll be able to meet again over at the library soon. But for now, this will be how we have to meet.
Okay. I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All right, I need to do a roll call, so Ted's in the top left corner right now.
Aye.
Karen, top right.
I approve to adjourn.
Carol is in the left.
Aye.
Peter, you're next.
I approve.
And Dave.
I approve.
And then I'm missing somebody's picture tonight. Tom? I know.
Aye.
Tom?
I adjourn.
All right, we move to adjourn then.
Thank you all very much.